Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. Mr. Brett, I would like to welcome you to episode 93 of the Glum Lot Podcast.
I do like that I'm always welcomed at the beginning of this. It makes me feel like something.
You are. I always want to welcome you.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes me feel like I'm accomplished, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I welcome you into my heart and into my home.
Oh, how wonderful.
And into my little home studio.
You know, speaking of accomplished, you know, there's this, when you're newer in the rooms, you equate time with success, right? And you know, I'm noticing a bit lately, and we just had that situation recently, that time doesn't necessarily mean that you got it, right?
No. Hopefully you acquire more wisdom as you go along.
Yep.
But you don't, nobody ever has it.
Right.
You know?
And so, you know, I caution people, right? I mean, obviously old timers are great, right? But you definitely want to make sure that that we're doing the thing every day, right? Because otherwise the time really doesn't matter, and we see it over and over again. We've heard it over again on this podcast.
I'd like to remind our listeners to join our Facebook group.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about
the Glum Lot Podcast on Facebook, or if they'd like to email us, the Glum Lot Podcast at gmail.com. Back to the show. Yeah. Now back to the show.
It is kind of funny. We're both like exhausted. I was up all night. We had a barbecue competition, right? So I was up all night keeping up with the smoker, and Mark had bad dreams all night, and I had to talk to him a lot.
I did?
I don't know.
No, those were good dreams. They seemed bad at the time, but now I look back.
But anyways, just don't think because you got a whole bunch of time that you've got it licked. You got to keep up with this
And you
stuff.
know what? The people that do have a lot of time will tell you that.
That's exactly right.
Because if I had it licked, why would I go to meetings?
That's right.
Why would I try to help other people?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I have a podcast? Would I? But the fact of the matter is that my sobriety is contingent upon the maintenance of my program.
Absolutely.
The steps, the spiritual part of the program, helping others. Everything that you hear about in the rooms is a way of life. It's got to be a way of life, right?
Absolutely. In capital and squiggly letters.
Oh, okay.
Those are the important ones.
Good. Well, our guest today is a young man who I have gotten to know, and you have gotten to know, in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And also, he is sponsored by one of our sponsors we had on earlier.
Oh, my goodness.
One of our first episodes, I believe, right?
Oh, my goodness.
What was Mike A?
Oh,
Episode number early.
3 or 4? 3 or 4.
If you want to go back and listen to and his name is Alex L. And if you want to go back and listen to his sponsor's episode, you're going to have to look up what number it is because I don't remember. So.
Gosh. But regardless, this is somebody that I butchered his name.
Wait,
all
is
the
it
time
regardless
in
or
the
is it
beginning.
irregardless?
No, it is regardless.
Okay.
Yes. Let's also make that an educational moment on the podcast.
Yes.
It's not. There's no such word, even though they put it into the dictionary, which drove me nuts. But anyways, I digress. But you know what I think we should do? I think we should welcome Alex.
Alex. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
Good to have you here, sir. And we'd like to start with your sobriety date.
February 29th, leap year, last year, 2024.
Okay. So you've got over a year. Fantastic. And can you tell us about your first experiences with the effects of alcohol and or drugs, how you were first introduced to
all the details?
Probably, I'll have to go way back for this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've had like 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, like my parents drank rarely. For me, I'd say the first time I ever drank was probably between 8th and 9th grade. My buddy, I remember he stole some, I think it was like peppermint schnapps from his...
Ooh,
yikes.
Yeah,
Mine
yikes.
was peach schnapps.
Ooh, yeah. But yeah, I stole a bunch of it, put it in a plastic water bottle, and
Straight.
got hammered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So do you remember how you felt about that feeling?
Loved it.
No shit.
Right off the
From
bat.
the first drink.
Yeah.
Did you get sick?
No, I just remember like the earth felt like it was tilting and we were just laughing and having a great time, couldn't walk, but like it was so much fun. But yeah, I mean, I definitely loved it the first time.
What did you
I tried
like
it.
about it? Was there anything specific?
At that time, I'd say honestly, like just the fun we had.
Okay.
At that point in time, it was, I wouldn't necessarily say I was using it for any particular reason, like numbing, anything like that. That was just like, well, hey, high school kids are doing this. Like, let's try it out. And I mean, we had a blast and,
what's funny is that research has shown that our alcoholic brains process alcohol differently than the rest of the population.
Oh, absolutely. And our bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, and that part of that is we get close to what they would consider like an opiate kind of high. And I know the receptors in our brains are different. So it feels different to us. I know my wife is, rarely drinks, but when she does, when her buzz comes on about a drink and a half in, she's done.
Yeah, they get an uneasy feeling.
Yes, she doesn't like to feel out of control. I'm like, fuck, that's where I start. That's where I start liking it,
100%.
But we are very different in that respect. So you're in, 8th grade area there. You catch this buzz, you love it. Do you pursue it?
Yeah, I mean, I was an athlete, so played hockey, played lacrosse in high school. I definitely drank throughout high school.
Yeah.
Smoked a lot of weed. That was kind of, what we did.
Mostly just pure stuff.
I wouldn't say it was
Experimenting.
anything
Abnormal.
abnormal,
sure.
right? I think for me, where my drinking and we'll say partying, quote unquote, picked up was my senior year. So I remember, hockey season ended. I think it was, March. So I had a couple months left of the school year, summer, before college.
Oh,
and, at that point, there wasn't the stress and pressure of, having to behave really well and get in trouble for athletics or something. And I honestly think hockey was a huge outlet for a lot of my anger I had too. And, once that, no longer happened, I decided not to pursue hockey.
Okay, so I'm going to dig into that one a little bit. You had some anger in your life, and what was it, just normal teenage stuff and confusion, or what do you think was going on there?
So my dad passed away when I was 11. He... it was sudden. Had a heart attack. He ended up surviving that. Died of a staph infection while he was in the hospital.
No kidding.
So, and he was the the breadwinner of our family. I mean, I grew up a pretty good privileged life, but it was just me and my mom left. I have a brother who's 20 or 16 years older than me. He's 55 now, but it's I feel like for me, me and my mom, we definitely, looking back on it, she was struggling with her own stuff too, right?
Sure.
Losing a husband.
Yeah.
But we had a very, very strained relationship. And I also just kind of ignored the fact that my dad had passed away, just pretended it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I noticed at times, just looking back on it now, like just this rage that would come over me
I mean, that's
in high school.
That's awful. I mean, it's one thing that he survived the heart attack, but then of a staph infection, right?
Yeah.
And then why now? Why did that have to happen, right? And all the stuff that goes around that, and then all of a sudden it was just you and your mom, and
and when you're young, you're like, I don't get this, but I don't like it, so I'm just not going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, so that intense physical activity does help with that. You know what I mean? And then when that abruptly stops, where does it go?
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
And so did you find that alcohol helped quell that? Was it a relief for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a number of different things, but I wasn't like an angry drunk at all. But yeah, like it was kind of the next thing. Like, all right, hockey's over. That was definitely an outlet for a lot of things.
Sure.
It's a pretty violent sport, but yeah, I mean, alcohol was a way to feel social. Overcome my own insecurities that I had, right, looking back on it. And, also just going off to college like that too, just also a way of like, creating your own identity. Like I was, I was the fun guy. I liked to party and I would do, whatever.
You are for anything.
Yeah.
For the
And
most
so
part.
did you feel like, or did you notice that you drank differently than some other people, maybe more or more frequently, or anything like that? Were you still like on the normal track?
I mean, I went to SUNY Oswego, which people there tend to not. I saw you were wearing a Oswego.
My daughter goes there
Oh,
now.
yeah? Okay.
Yes, and she has started to drink.
Okay. It's probably a lot better now than it used to be.
I don't
but
think so.
I also,
Definitely not.
I also surrounded myself with people who like to have a good time, like me, right?
You find your people.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So like in Oswego, I looking back, like 100%, the way we drank was not normal whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was when you drank to black out, and that was 3, 4, 5 nights a week.
There was nothing social about it.
No,
It started out that way.
that was early in
Yeah.
college. Like
Yeah.
that's before it really even took off. But
So you didn't play club team hockey or anything? Didn't even pursue it at all?
no, I thought about it, but it was too much of a commitment to be
Yeah.
on the club team at Oswego. They wanted you running 6 miles on Saturday
Yeah, and you're like,
mornings.
dude, I'm
like,
going to
yeah,
college.
yeah, of course.
So did it affect your schoolwork at all?
Yeah, I mean, I did just what I had to get by.
Yeah.
My first 2 years of college, that was right. C's get degrees. Like I'm here to have a good time as long
I
as
hope my daughter doesn't listen to this.
I know one thing: a .10 did not get degrees on my end.
Yeah, so it all came to like for me, my junior year when I moved off campus. I moved into, my fraternity house at the time, and I remember we moved up a week early. Before school started, right? And it was basically a week-long party leading up to the semester.
Pre-game, yeah.
Yeah, and then the first day of classes, I was too hungover to go to. The second day, the first week, I ended up for that entire year, my junior year, I did not go to class once. I got 2 0-0s in a row.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and
Nice,
basically
man.
drank and partied.
What did your mother say? Or did she know?
She found out afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, was she like, what did you do that whole time?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was also, some other things going on too, and I justified my drinking with like, oh yeah, it's some depression, this, and so I don't know. My junior year was for me a wake up call. Like I drank pretty much every single night.
Yeah.
And along with other drugs too, right?
Did you realize during that junior year that this is a problem? Or weren't you quite there yet?
Like, were your friends moving on with school?
Yeah, some were, some weren't. Like, there's again, I surround myself with people
Yes,
who
we do.
like to have a good time, and so I was in a fraternity, and there were kids who went to school, and then other ones who were just there to have a good time too, right? So, but yeah, no, I failed out of school after my junior year.
Right, they boot you, right? 2 semesters. You're
Oh,
gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, failed out. Kicked out. Ended up having to move back home. I'd also right around this time had gotten my first DWI on my way to Green Beer Sunday at Coleman's from Oswego.
Okay, that's a local bar in the Irish section that they serve green beer on St. Patrick's Day. It's like a big drink. It's a big drink fest, as St. Patrick's Day tends to be.
Correct.
But these guys bring in like literally a truck of green beer, and people just get faced.
Yeah, never.
So
made
you're
it there.
driving there and you're drunk, like we pregame. Got to have a few before we go, and it's about a 45-hour long drive. If you were up in Oswego, or were you home?
I was in Oswego at the time.
Yeah. So that's like a 45-minute or an hour drive, and you get pulled over, right? Did you get pulled over for any specific reason?
Yeah, I mean, I swerved over a double yellow line because I was a cigarette smoker at the time too, and I had closed my window to answer the phone, and I went to ash my cigarette, and
the window was closed.
It came back in my lap, and I jumped, swerved over a double yellow.
Oh, shit.
And, yeah, there was a police officer 2 cars behind me.
Can you walk us through what happened when he walked up to the window? Like you were shitting your pants, right?
Yeah, I ended up.
He was trying to put the fire out in his pants.
I blew very, very, very high on the Richter scale, so like he knew right away.
Yeah.
So I knew, but yeah.
So when you go to court, do they try to send you to any kind of treatment?
Yeah, they do. Like 8-week, alcohol classes.
Yeah.
And it was probably at this point, though, my junior year of college, that I was like, after all this, that I'm like, I got to get my shit together.
Okay.
And I did. I ended up enrolling at OCC, got my grades up.
This is a local community college here in town.
And
so it's a wake-up call, and you re-enroll in a community college, and they will accept the credits, and you're like, I'm going to get myself back on track, and you do. But during this time, are you like, I also have a problem with alcohol? Or were you just like, look, that was a blip. I got my wake-up call. I'm good. I'm going to go back, reset my bounds, and I'm going to get this done?
I knew there was like this beast within me, right?
Yeah.
But, I also, at that point, it wasn't like, okay, this is a serious problem where I need help. I've been on this rampage of having a good time. I just need to...
Right, and you're 20 or 21, right?
Yeah, 21, 22 at this point.
Okay, yeah, so you're still a young dude, and you kind of just figure I'll move on.
Yeah, and I ended up for years kind of just going back, like, my girlfriend at the time, who is now my ex-wife, like, we went out still and did...
Yeah.
Somewhat normal drinking, like on the weekends. Yeah, and there was definitely times where, I would black out. And,
too far.
Yeah, too far, and she'd be like, hey, like this...
So you pull it back, trying to manage it.
Yeah, and, that's kind of how I...
That's, the interesting thing about the way we deal with our early alcoholism is we try to manage it.
Correct.
And we all do that. And eventually it becomes so unmanageable that we can't manage any of it, and that's when it becomes dark and desperate. But you're still at the stage where you're like, all right, I got to pull back. All right, oh, she says I drank too much. All right, I won't drink for a couple of days. So you're kind of trying to manage it. You're getting your stuff done. You're getting your school done. You working at the time too?
Yeah, I think I was working, still going to... I ended up getting back into Oswego.
Okay, so you go back to the school. I straighten my shit out. Here's my grades. You're in good graces there?
Yeah, I didn't live up there. I just commuted up there.
Yeah.
My last 2 years up there, I did 4.0s. And
nice.
When you actually go to class and
do
the work,
difference.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah,
it makes a difference.
Right. I was trying to explain it to my daughter. I said, college is easier than high school. You just got to go and do the work. No. It's not even a big time commitment. I guess if you're going to pre-med or whatever, it can be. Depends what you go for. Yeah. But, anyone can do it, What was your degree on?
Business administration.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So you got your degree?
I did.
Nice. What happens after that?
Just life. Ended up moving in, with my now ex-wife. We ended up getting married in 2015. For me, I went probably the better part of a decade where I knew, I had this takeoff point in my life, right? If I got, it's not necessarily a number of drinks. You this feeling you start to get where, maybe 3 drinks, 4 drinks, 5 drinks, that party Alex is going to take over. And I could, for a long time, prevent myself from going into that mode. Work, did really well, advanced my career. We ended up having our first kid in 2017, second kid in 2020. And I think really where things started to take off again for me was COVID.
No kidding.
Same.
Now, are you still smoking weed, doing recreationally? All that shit dropped away?
Before we had kids, I now, honestly, for a long time, I hate weed. It makes me anxious.
Yeah.
I don't even like it. But yeah, before kids, I quit smoking cigarettes. I still drank, but I did not get drunk for
But you had this
years.
awareness that after
Correct.
a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say a man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink, the drink takes the man. And it's that progression. And I know that when I drank, that progression, just like you say, you can feel it when, okay, I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know how long I'm going to drink. I don't know where I'm going to go. And there is a point. And it's usually like you say, like maybe 4 or 5 drinks in where you're like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the chaos. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But it does speak to the progression. I'm sure we're going to get there. But, we at one point, all three of us probably knew there was a point where there was that takeoff spot. And,
once you hit it, you're not going back.
Right. But we had that awareness and we could
now.
somewhat temper it at that point. Yeah, you're telling my story. This is crazy. This is exactly what I went through for about 10 years.
So
exactly.
What happened during COVID?
So, I mean, me and my ex, we were both working, right? We had one kid at the time. He was just about 3. A week before COVID, we found out, she was pregnant with our second, and then COVID hits, and kind of things went downhill from there. She's pregnant. We're trying to both work from home and watch a 3-year-old.
You're on top of each other.
Yeah, and she ended up, to make a long story short, one of us had to quit our job, and just not that it was fair to her by any means, but I earned quite a bit more, and from a financial standpoint, it just made sense for her to quit her job. But I think just 2 people trapped in the home, 2 young kids.
It's a lot.
The job I had just started, it was a new job probably about a month before COVID, very fast-paced, high stress, and, I didn't start getting drunk, but drinking every night, 2, 3, 4 drinks.
What was your choice?
It started with, some nice high ABV.
Yeah, high gravity beers.
Yeah, definitely craft beer. But then, as that progressed, glasses of, I loved bourbon, whiskey, good whiskey. But I mean, whatever was around, right? So that kind of went on for a few years during COVID, and I found myself, waking up in the morning anxious, a little shaky, and also, along with all of this, I'd had for a long time a prescription for Xanax.
Oh, yeah.
For anxiety?
Yeah, and Xanax, I could take it in the morning. I never abused it because I knew my personality and what it would do, but it got me through the day.
Yeah,
right?
Man, that's right out of the book.
Yep.
Bill's story.
Did you ever get to the point where you're like, all right, tonight's the night I'm not going to drink? Like, did you ever try to stop?
No, because it was I felt like I was in control of it.
It was still, you felt you were still it was manageable.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And now I just need a little Xanax to help me manage it. Correct. But I'm doing it intelligently.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And COVID almost caused the routine of that.
It's not affecting anyone else.
Right.
Just keeping my shit together.
Correct.
But I remember during COVID, it almost created that routine because there was nothing else to do. It was like Groundhog Day every day.
Now, you weren't sober during COVID,
No.
Right? Okay, see, I was sober and in the rooms during COVID. And for anybody out there that doesn't have more than a few years or whatever, it was fucking weird, man.
Oh,
it was like your meetings were cut off, boom.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, we got to go on Zoom now. Everybody's got to go on Zoom.
Yeah.
I could not relate
I know.
on Zoom.
It's weird.
So I ran an underground meeting that I got permission to run, not from the state, of course, but from the church that I was at. The pastor was like, look, you got the key, keep it small.
We didn't see it.
Yeah,
that's about when I came in. Yes. Is when you guys were doing that because
and
I remember
we would have masks. We would be, I shit you not, 40 feet apart.
Yeah,
we had it in the church part.
That's wild.
And they weren't even having church at the time.
Right.
But people would show up, man, because
Heck yeah, man.
If you couldn't relate to Zoom like me and you needed that face to face, it was pretty cool to have that.
I can imagine. The Zoom is tough because you don't get that.
there's something about being in the room, you know what I mean? And so we continued that for a while, and then eventually, it was a while, but things loosened up. And then I remember the first couple meetings back were weird.
Yeah.
It was just weird to be back.
Yeah.
And people came back in trickles, too. And everybody had to wear a mask. And actually, you had to sign in. Like, you'd get to the door and they'd sign you in. Yeah, it was, it was crazy. But but enough about me.
Yes,
Let's talk about me some more. So you're at this point in your life where you're stuck in a house. You're drinking pretty much every night. You're using Xanax to even it up in the morning. And does it progress?
So we ended up getting divorced end of 2022. So she moved out, and that's where it took off.
That was the big catalyst.
Now I'm left to my own free will.
For the second time in your life.
Yeah. And now every other weekend without kids. And for me, and I didn't even realize it at first, but there's so much emotion behind a divorce. At first I was like, yes, I'm free. It was a mutual decision between both of us. Very amicable. We get along great. We co-parent great.
Nice.
But just two people who probably shouldn't have been together in the first place, who just completely different people.
And COVID just exploited that because you were next to each other all the time.
Yeah, that and young kids.
Yeah.
And, your problems in a marriage, like when you're young, right, your differences don't cause major problems, but those differences when you get, more serious things,
especially kids,
finance,
of course.
Financial stuff,
yeah.
When the things get real,
it
can get dicey. Yeah.
So
then you find out what's going on.
But yeah, that's when she moved out is when it took off.
At first, the freedom was good, but you were saying then that changed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was going out on weekends. Like the last time I had been single, I was in my early 20s, so I just went right back to what I knew best. Like, all right, we're going out Friday night. We're going to get drunk tonight, and then, I could continue it through the weekend. Nobody there to hold me accountable. And,
so did your amount of drinking ramp up?
Oh, significantly.
Did you drink to shit face every time you went out?
Yeah, every other weekend, and then it would take me a few days to
recover.
Yeah, well, not even recover from like a hangover, but like that withdrawal almost. Like I could use Xanax to taper back and be completely functional by, for work. Like I never drank during the day during work, even though I work from home. It would be very easy for me to, but, I just leveraged, Xanax as a way to taper down and manage those withdrawals until that didn't work anymore. So I went on like that for, 3 or 4 months and ended up, I got to a point where I could not stop the train. I said, all right, like I need to stop drinking. This is starting to, affect my work.
How is it affecting your work?
Because like on Mondays, like I wouldn't drink, but I'd be like,
a wreck,
right? Like just straight withdrawal.
Can't focus.
No.
Anxiety through the roof.
Through the roof. And that and my parenting, it got to a point where, I ended on a couple week bender, called into work. Like it escalated really quickly for me. And next thing I knew, my parents or my mom and my brother, were coming to my rescue. It got to a point where I couldn't get my kids because I just couldn't
get there
drinking, and they thought treatment would be best. So in 2023,
before that affects your ability to see your kids.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in early 2023, I ended up going to my first rehab at Tully Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you go to rehab, you spend 28 days there. Do you get anything out of it?
I did. I mean, I got a lot out of it. I think I came out of it. I knew deep down I wasn't ready to let go and give up.
Yeah.
But I ended up staying sober about 6 months. I kind of went to some meetings. I basically had one foot in the door.
So when you got out, you had this plan. Did you go to outpatient?
No.
Okay, so you get out of there. They're telling you as soon as you get out, go to a meeting, raise your hand, tell them you just got out of rehab. Did you do that?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people start talking to you.
Correct.
This rehab that you were at, what was their approach? What was their
12-step?
Oh, it was 12-step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go to a few meetings and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, but you're not really fully into it.
Yeah, and I also think the type of meetings I was going to, the people in those meetings, it was pretty aggressive. And I just kind of, at that point, kind of shut down. All right, I can do this on my own. And I stayed sober for, like I said, almost 6 months. And honestly, like, it wasn't that difficult for me. What I think, so people say I'm powerless over alcohol. I know I'm powerless over alcohol, but I'm also powerless to the idea that I can manage my drinking. So deep down in the back of my mind, that voice starts to come in like, all right, you just went through a divorce. You were having a hard time. You did manage your drinking.
Got back through school. I got through my dad. All those things you were able to get through, like those normal things.
All right, so it was another rough patch in your mind. Like, that was a rough patch, but I'm doing good now.
Yeah.
So I don't really need meetings. I learned a lot of stuff. I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. So,
but this one's a toughie.
Yeah. So I kind of put it in my mind I'm going to make it through summer. And, one night I just remember, like, I kind of had it in my mind, but I was like, you know what? It was September. It felt like a summer night. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a beer tonight. And I did. And I just had one.
Yep.
And, a couple weeks went by and I had another.
Cunning, baffling, and powerful, isn't it?
And, within a couple of months, I feel like there was a couple points I got drunk. I'm like, whoa, this is starting to get out of control. And I was able to reel it back in. But right at the end of 2023, I actually got laid off from my job.
And another turning point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
straight downhill.
Oh, real quick. Within 2 months, I was back in rehab.
No shit.
Yeah.
Same one? Same
crazy.
rehab?
Correct.
They're like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
But isn't it funny, though, that what they call in the big book, the peculiar mental twist, right? It was just that one nice evening, and that's all it took. Everything that you knew was gone.
Sometimes the worst thing that can happen is you have one beer and that's it. Because then you build up this confidence.
That's exactly
we just had this at a meeting last Thursday.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Where the guy said I had one.
Yeah.
Yep. And everybody was like, the fuck's wrong with you? Having one? No way.
It's almost like your alcoholism is saying, you got this. You just go out and drink one. And you drink one and say, okay, now
permission slip.
Now go home. And you go home and you're like, holy shit, I do got this.
Yay!
And then you do it again and you're like, no, I know I got this.
It's ego, right? Like,
well, of course.
Okay, I got this. I can control this.
I can drink like a normal person.
Yes. And it's also just the fear of like I had used alcohol in my life for so much, everything, right?
Yeah.
And the fear of like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to drink again. Like, how am I going to
How am I going to have fun?
We say that a lot. It's like when you come in and you put the drink down, you're like, what am I going to do now?
It's over.
I can't go golfing. I can't, hang out at a bar and meet women.
I can't go to dinner.
What the fuck am I going to do?
I can't go see a movie.
I can't mow my lawn. Somebody talked about that the other day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I can't even mow my lawn anymore.
My lawnmower is still bent from when I ran into a telephone pole. Just saying.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, the riding lawnmower. Yeah, the deck, that little wheel. Yeah, I clipped that thing almost.
Sober or not sober?
Oh, definitely not.
The DWI on a riding lawnmower.
For my excuse, I used to go and mow all the older people's lawns in the neighborhood so I could spend time.
There you go.
Yeah, until I got whipped off the lawnmower from hitting that telephone pole.
But no consequences, no legal consequences besides that first DWI, right?
No.
Okay, so you get out of the first rehab, you're good for a little bit, you test the waters, they feel fine, and you're jumping in and going swimming and getting out, and you're good. And then all of a sudden, boom.
There's no bottom.
The fucking deep end. And you're like, shit. And so do you check yourself in, or do people in your life come and say, you're doing it again?
I essentially I eventually got to a point where I had to, people knew, but I had to just reach out and be like, I need help again. But
how'd you do it?
In a drunken stupor.
Right. Call somebody.
Yeah.
So you go back to rehab the second time.
Yep.
What's different?
Well, I woke up there, 3 days, 4 days in, and you finally start to get a clear mind. Like, I knew I was there, but I mean, like,
right.
I kind of figured this was my last hurrah. Like, I think I drank 20 White Claws.
Do you have to detox or anything?
Yeah, I drank 20 White Claws the morning before I went in.
Those claws scratched you.
And then, you wake up there clear-headed a few days later after your detox, and you're like, I'm back here. I learned all this stuff. And I think the first reaction was like, all right, I learned all this stuff. I just didn't apply it. Like, I don't need to be here. But I ended up deciding to stay.
Good.
And honestly, both times to rehab, like, I mean, they were amazing. I have no regrets about going there. But the second time, like, I got to a point where I was ready to be done with it and learn a new way.
Psychic change.
So did you feel like I'm ready to surrender?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big difference. I know a lot of people that go to rehab, they walk out, they have not surrendered.
Throw the doors open.
They're kind of ready to kind of do the program, and they get out there, and it's like, oh, this is a lot of work. I'm good, blah, blah, blah. Then they get the shippy out of them again because they needed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, for me, when I first came into the program, I bounced in and out, and then I finally beat the shit out of myself. Boy, this dog wants to be a part of every podcast we do. Yeah, Milo, we know he's like talking about his alcoholism right now.
Well, I think he's just excited that we're getting
weird
to the...
because of the headphones. I'm like, is that coming through the headphones or is that actually in the
right.
He's just excited because he knows the good stuff's coming up where you
really
overcome.
Good friends. He was good friends with Bill W.'s dog.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
That's got to be it.
He's really howling up there.
Yeah.
Would it be funny if we were down here doing the podcast and somebody was actually breaking in?
Somebody's at your door.
I have millions of kids that run in and out of here all day and all night. And they all have friends, and they all come over and hang out. But anyway, so you're in rehab the second time. Things are different. It's a different Alex. It's an Alex that is surrendered. I don't know why you're laughing, Brett, but I tell you,
damn dog.
I almost lost it. I almost lost it when Alex said I drank 20 White Claws, and you go, those claws scratched you. I'm like, what are you, fucking Vincent Price? Those claws scratched you.
We're digressing big time.
But anyway, let's get back to the story because there's a lot of people out there that have been to one rehab and are probably drunk right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, the recidivism in rehabs is pretty high.
You have to be just ready to be done. Like, I consider myself very fortunate, right? Like, I didn't go on this path of destruction for years of my life and take people down with me and myself and legal trouble, lose my kids, and just put everyone through hell. I'm very fortunate that I think I do have a strong, like, self-will, but, like, even that couldn't.
Right, self-will does not cut it.
Not cut
for alcoholism. Nope. And when you just finally get to a point where you're just ready to be done.
Yeah.
And just hand it over.
Yeah. So you're just you're surrendering at that point, and until you get to that point, you're probably not going to have any success.
Correct.
Yeah, and that was your experience there, right?
100%.
So you're there at the second rehab. You're going through it. When you get to the end, do you have a plan for when you get out?
I did, yeah. So there's a neighbor of mine who's also in the program, Mike R. I know there's a bunch of them, but my first time through, he had asked me or told me, he's like, hey, when you get out, give me a call. And
Mike R's been on the show too.
Yes. All of them?
Twice. He's been on the show
Oh,
twice.
Pretty much.
Twice.
Pretty,
Okay.
Yeah.
He was
also pretty much all of them.
But yeah, he told me to call him the first time. I never did. And when I went back the second time, I was just dreading until I saw him.
Yeah.
And he walks in one night and he's like, oh, Alex, you never called me last time, did you?
I can hear him saying
Here you
it.
are. And I'm like, yes, Mike, here I am.
Yeah, so Mike runs a program at the rehab here where he goes in every Friday night and holds a meeting.
Yeah.
So he's inescapable for those who are at that rehab. And he's a good contact when people get out.
Correct.
And I see him with a lot of new guys.
He does a wonderful service.
He does.
Man, he's a
very good dude.
Like 6 of them lately.
Yeah.
Coming in because of him.
So, but this time when you get out, you call him, right?
I did.
And?
Here I am.
That's good.
Followed the plan.
Man.
No, I just
shit.
took me to some different meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like found people that they want or they have what I want.
Yes.
Maybe similar stories. And I've just gotten into good routine, but through, who Mike introduced me to, my sponsor.
Me and you.
The meetings I've gone to, met you gentlemen.
Yes.
I don't know. It's just, once I just let go and gave into it and started to learn to actually live without alcohol, life has just gotten so much better.
So you get out and you start going to meetings on a regular basis.
Yes.
The right meetings.
You find a sponsor.
For you.
Yes.
You start working the steps.
Yes.
You start reading the big book.
Yes.
And you're getting results.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean,
all right. So a good interviewer doesn't just ask yes or no questions.
Yes.
So how did that make you feel?
Use open-ended questions, Mark.
Yes. What did your sponsor smell like?
Could you tell me about how the steps have, made it work for you? That one was serious.
Repeat that?
Can you tell me how the steps? Tell me all about that. How they have made an impact in your life. That was an open-ended question.
Just made me really take a look in the mirror and, see my own character defects, right? And just kind of looking back at that era of my life, and it's just like, when you're in it, you don't realize it, but when you look back and you're like, holy shit, like I used alcohol for everything, like, emotions, my own insecurities. And it's like, okay, I was doing all this for so long that I needed that. And that eventually became an addiction. But now I need to figure out how to deal with those things without alcohol.
It. Yeah. You know what's funny is what we think at the time is, I just need a little something to take the edge off. It's not the fucking edge. You're taking the whole thing off.
That's right.
You know? And you don't realize it. Exactly. And so then when you get out and you put the drink down, you're like, now what am I going to do? And you start working on yourself. And for a lot of people, early sobriety is kind of miserable.
Oh, yeah.
For some people, it's good. It's really nice. They're like, I love it, It's for me, I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, having to discover all those things that, people say are wrong with you and then have to admit those things. And, God, then you got to tell somebody about it. And
right, like, oh, I finally put the drink down. Then they're like, yeah, now the work begins.
That's right.
And for those who don't have the whatever to pursue that,
resolve,
they're either going to be really unhappy without alcohol or they're just going to go out and drink again or find something else.
It takes a little courage.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
How was your experience with the spiritual steps 2 and 3?
In progress still. Like, I'm definitely, willing to believe in a, power greater than myself. Like, I am not God.
Clearly, right?
I know that, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked with my sponsor on it, and he's like, that's, all it is. Like, he says, a God of my misunderstanding.
Sure.
And I don't know, there's just so much to be grateful for in life and each day, and things that, when you're caught in just everyday life that you tend to forget about and you focus on the negative. And
that's what you're going to get.
Correct. So, I think, again, that spiritual side of it and a higher power, it's evolving in my mind. I did kind of have a aha moment a couple weeks ago, which I talked to my sponsor about.
Nice.
My current sponsor, who has yet to move, and not my new sponsor, who's sitting right in front of me.
I'll tell you something about those aha moments. If you're really fortunate, they don't stop.
Yeah.
I have them. 35 years sober, I have aha moments. Discoveries about myself, discoveries about things in the big book, and just things I just kind of never looked at or just didn't have.
Now we're looking.
Yeah, I was not at the point in my sobriety to recognize certain aspects of sobriety.
Right.
And I just don't think there's an end to it.
It's kind of funny you say that. In the last probably week, there's been 2 other things that have happened in my life that just coincidence, okay, but like it just seemed almost too much to be coincidence. So
it's because we're doing the right things.
And and here's the funny thing: we're like, oh my God, I had this great aha moment. And you're like, that's what life is supposed to be.
Right.
If you're on the right track, if you have a design for living that works, right? That your life is supposed to be a series of these self-discoveries, and that's kind of what life is.
Yeah, even through the tough ones, you're going to realize something out of it, right? And something good comes out of it.
Right, and to us, because we haven't had them the whole time we were drinking and using, that now we're experiencing like, oh my God, I hope this doesn't go away.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't, unless you stray off the, unless you stray off the righteous path.
You know what's huge? And I never did this in my entire life. I think I was always somebody who felt very independent, that I can do this on my own, whatever it was, not just drinking, but just opening up and talking to other people.
It's immensely helpful.
It's unreal.
We had one of those.
And it's not a hard thing to do. It's hard to get the courage to maybe do that. But when you think about it, hey, I'm feeling this way about this thing, and the feedback you get, and it's just oh my God, how did I not do
just
this
look at a couple Tuesdays ago.
life?
You were very against not doing this, right? And then we talked about it. A lot of us got together and talked about it, and then somewhat okay.
Forced me.
No, we did not.
We have a gun to his head right now.
But again, open the eyes.
It's a rubber band
and you're going to find this went just fine, even with the dog.
Yeah, and you talk about the impact that this new framework changes your thinking about, and that it does take courage to talk about things. The good thing is this program encourages that so much. And you don't even have to do it a lot of times. You just go to a meeting and people bring up shit that's going on with you. Mm-hmm. I know there are multitudes of times where they ask for a topic, and I'll actually kind of have one, but I'll think a couple things. Well, nobody's going to want to hear my topic.
And
that'll be one thing. And another thing is I don't want to let people know that I still have topics. And then somebody will bring ego, and then somebody will bring up my topic, and I'll be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Or they'll bring up something completely different, and something that someone says will be my answer. Mm-hmm. It happens all the time to me. And it usually comes from the most unlikely source. Right?
Yes, that is so true.
I have heard some gems from people that I thought were whack jobs.
Oh, yeah.
But they speak, and I'm like, holy shit. I got to have some respect for this person.
That's right.
I can't judge. I can't judge.
If you don't take away at least something or multiple things from any meeting you go to, then
you're not looking for it.
Correct.
Right. It does take openness.
Yep.
And they talk about, in fact, I was listening to I like to call them books on tape, even though it really fucking dates me. Audiobooks. I was listening to an audiobook today. It was Audible.
That's all right.
It was the Zen of, I think it was called the Zen of Recovery or the Zen of the 12 Steps or something, but it's comparing Zen to the 12 Steps. And they talk about, in Zen, they have beginner's mind. And they say in AA, you've got to keep that. And it's all about remaining teachable.
Yeah.
So I've got 10 years of sobriety. I've been hearing the same shit for 10 years. Well, not today you haven't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's great, but you've forgotten the same shit for 10 years too.
That's right.
And have not applied it to you. So that's what the whole thing about, keep coming back to meetings is. So, we're at the end of our time, and Alex, we'd really like to thank you for your time and your
thank you guys for
your
having
wisdom,
me.
your experience, strength, and hope.
Yeah. And, somebody always benefits from hearing it.
I appreciate you guys holding the gun to my head and making me do this.
Yeah. We're not going to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was never loaded. That's the whole case. It was never loaded.
That's right.
It's a lot easier.
It was
than
never
I thought.
loaded. Oh shit! It just went off.
It is easier.
So until next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
I'm Alex.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected,
And remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.